Minecraft came out with a new throwable item for the player, so I made a farm to get tons of them. Hello there, Ray here, and this new item has tons of cool uses. It can be aimed and shot in great distances. Each charge will do a small amount of damage and also push things around, which is great for getting some extra boost while running. Jump over large holes with good timing. Jump higher than 10 blocks with repeated well-timed releases. Wall climb with skill. Can easily and safely MLG, so definitely worth an automatic farm to get an unlimited amount of them. Plus I'm trying to design an automatic farm for every single item in the game. I almost have one made for all 1,300 unique items, so let's see how I managed to make a farm for this new item. When you first find a breeze spawner that you want to convert over to farm, go ahead and just complete the whole trial chamber thing by killing off the breeze, and then that will finish off and put the spawner in a cooldown. Now you won't have to worry about the spawner producing any more mobs for an entire 30 minutes. If there's any spawners around the area that you're not going to use, just go ahead and box them off, because the spawner can only place the mobs if it has a direct line of sight to a full square top block. So with non-see-through blocks, it has nowhere that it can see to actually place in a mob. Now for the one that you're going to use for your breeze farm, just want to come in here and knock out these blocks here and place in your chest where you're going to collect the loot down here. Then we're going to have a hopper point into that and then go this direction. We're then going to force the spawner to put all the mobs that spawn from it on top of these 3 hoppers. We're going to do this by blocking off that side so it can't spawn anything that direction, nothing above it, but we do want to place one here, so we're going to leave some glass so it can kind of get a nice little angle and place one there and some glass on this side. But we don't want to spawn outside of it, so we're going to cover up all of that side as well as cover up this side so it can't see any other spot to place in mobs, and then take this up a 1 whole block so it can't spawn above it. And then we don't want the breeze themselves to fly out, so we'll place some blocks above it. These could be transparent, as by this point the spawner doesn't have an angle to actually place any mobs outside of it. Now the player will be AFKing in this little composter down here, so they'll have a clear line of sight to attack anything that comes in front of their sword. But we also don't want the breeze to exit out this hole here, so we're going to place in some blocks all around this backside. So now the only exit is right here. I'll have a way for the player to come in and out, and this will be done using a trapdoor or gate. The problem is the breeze itself will constantly open and close this with its breeze wind charges. You can avoid this just by putting a power source beside it and then closing it. Now the breeze cannot actually modify this because it's being powered. Now just get any type of sword you want to use to kill the breeze. You don't need looting at the moment. If this changes in the future, check the description of this video for any changes related to this farm or the next one. Then you'll just hop in here, and then when you go into survival, it will activate it, and then the spawner will have to spawn in a breeze, but it can only place it in these 3 locations. Notice the breeze is hurting me, but we can stop this just by putting down a piece of string here. And now when it tries to shoot me, it's going to hit the string. As long as you don't get it directly hit by the wind charge, it's not going to do any damage to you. But the explosion like wind charge can still push you around, which could eventually remove all of your hunger. But you're also going to lose hunger because what you're going to do next is turn on a auto clicker. Every time you attack an entity, you will also lose a little bit of saturation. After each kill, the wind charges get picked up by the hoppers, and any loot that comes out of the trial spawner can't go any other direction because there's blocks above it, so it gets pushed out this way and also ends up in the hoppers. And then we could just leave by opening up this, jumping out of here, and we come down over here, we can check out the loot we got. Here we go, 9 wind charges and some loot from the trial spawner. Now at this point you'd have to wait another 30 minutes for the machine to automatically reactivate, another 2 breezes to come out and to be killed. So you don't want to be sitting here waiting for that, so you can always come in with a auto clicker. I find this one that's called OP Auto Clicker 3.0, as long as you get to the original and don't download a virus, it works pretty well. Just change the milliseconds to 1000 means you're going to click every 1 second, and then just by pressing F6 you can start the clicking, and by pressing it again you can stop it. Now if you're on easy or normal difficulty, you don't have to worry about your player dying from starvation from all the clicking you're doing and draining your hunger. But if you're on hard difficulty, you will starve to death if you continue to do this for a long period of time. So either come in once in a while and eat some food so you got some more saturation so you don't ever starve, or you can put down like a regen beacon. And since you're actually killing very few entities and getting pushed around for only a very short period of time, I'm guessing it would probably take like 20 plus hours for you to actually die from starvation from being full of saturation. And since every breeze gives between 4 to 6 charges, you can expect around 20 charges per hour, so it's pretty slow. Definitely use them sparingly. And my next design solves this problem of not having to be there all the time to actually kill the breezes. So what we're going to do is we're going to first lower down the platform so that we have a spot for the breezes to spawn. That is a bit bigger, so it'll be a little bit faster at finding the location. But like before, we don't want the breeze to actually spawn outside of this area, so we're going to put in a wall around this entire thing. Once again, we're going to use opaque blocks so the spawner can't spawn mobs outside of it. So once it looks like this, we're going to place in some water in this corner, and it should spread across this entire distance. Then in this corner over here, we're going to put in a nether portal. That way we can just transport the breezes over into the nether dimension rather than sit there and collect them. Because once they're no longer in this dimension, they will no longer count to a spawner, and then the next batch can come in. So we'll just block off this so we can light this portal up. And now you can see if any breezes would spawn, they would float downwards, end up in the water, and get pushed over there. We need to block up this corner so they get directed over that direction. And we're going to come in and fill this in so that they don't end up spawning on the top of this wall here, but only inside the actual farm. And we'll continue this one more higher because the spawner can see anything that is in line of sight of it. So even this top block could spawn it, but this here block, it can't actually see on top of it. So it won't spawn any breezes there. Now at this point, we just want to kind of stop the breezes from actually flying out of it in case they happen to see the player. So we're going to place in some glass like this, but we're also going to get some loot coming out of the spawner, and we want that to go downwards and not upwards. We're going to place in a solid block so that the spawner can't look upwards and place breeze on top of this glass. There happen to be some air blocks up here for it to fit. And we're also going to knock out these blocks that are touching the center block. That way any items that comes shooting upwards out of the trial spawner won't get glitched and then shoot all the way further upwards. But instead we'll try to pop out the side of this block and end up back down into our water. So now if you're in survival, the spawner will activate. The only place you can place them in is down there. And unlike the other mob trial spawners, the breezes can actually be spawned in mid-air. It doesn't have to place them directly on those blocks down below. Now we can place some blocks above these holes if you don't want the breeze to see you through them while you're in the area. So the next step is to leave a like on the video. So now that the breeze went through the portal, we need to make sure that this portal and the one that's been produced on the nether side both link up to each other. So while you're inside the portal, I would recommend taking a screenshot of the coordinates. And then when you get sent over here, we're going to try to figure out where this needs to be put in. We're going to take the x value divided by 8 and the z value divided by 8. Then we'll try to keep the y value the same, but notice that the y value is in the negative since these trial chamber structures do spawn below y level 0, which is the deep slate area under your world. So using those numbers, this is the new area where the portal will need to be built. Ideally, you want to build it as low as possible, but if there's no other nether portals in the area, you could always build it up higher, even on top of the bedrock, as long as they just link up properly. So I went ahead and built up the nether portal, and then what we're going to do is we're going to block off the back side of it, and then on the other side, we're going to come in and place in some scaffolding. And then just in front of the scaffolding, we can place in some trapdoors, and then just open them so that they kind of block this off. Trapdoors are used so the mobs think they can still walk out of the portal and walk like onto this platform over here. But the reality is they're going to collide with the trapdoors. And then since they're inside of the scaffolding, they're going to be walking forward, which will make them walk up the scaffolding. So it'd be like if you're in here and you're walking forward, you're pushing forward, you notice that you're actually going upwards, climbing the scaffolding. So if I let some breeze through, you can see they immediately try to pathfind their way out of it, but they just end up getting stuck at the very top. So scaffolding ends right here, and then above it we just have an air gap, and because mobs can go up the scaffolding but they haven't learned how to go down it, it's like a one-way valve. They can only go up and not down it. So they're all trapped at the top. This is okay because the scaffolding itself also works like a ladder or a vine where it can prevent max cramming, and this is the whole purpose of the farm. Since we know that the trial spawners are really slow, instead of trying to kill them one at a time as they come through, we just let the trial spawners spawn them in, and then we collect tons of them over here in the nether, and then we can easily kill them. But before we get around to how to do that, we need a way to go in and out of this portal safely. Now, the trial spawner can actually see through this nether portal and could place breezes outside this farm, so we're gonna have to close up this side over here. And then we can put an access door right here. They can't see through the doors, so that's fine. And then we still need to collect the items that come off of the trial spawner, such as like the trial keys. The best way to do this is just put in some hoppers to pick them up before they go through the nether portal. Over here, we're going to place in a chest, and then we're going to place in a hopper going into the chest. And then on this side, you can see the hopper. We're just going to place in another one, which is going into that hopper. So anything that falls into the water stream will eventually go over top, and then it will immediately store it here for you to collect later. So when you're ready to go ahead and kill all the breezes, you can come through this door here and go through the same portal that the breezes went through. And once on the other side, we'll just go up the scaffolding, but we won't go as high as where the breezes are. We'll just go inside their feet, and they can't actually hit you while you're inside of them because their head's a little bit higher. And then from here, we can just use our sword to whack at them, and then they will eventually die. The Sweep Edge will help you kill them more quickly. But once you kill them all, you will also get all of their loot, which is the wind charges. And at this point, you can go back down and into the portal to leave the area. Otherwise, you always put like a door on that side as well, in case you're using the nether to access your farm. But the advantage of this type of design is that since there's only around like 3 to 4 of these actual breeze spawners per structure, you can just come over and come by each of these, which will activate them. And then once you activate it, they will just automatically spawn in both of the breezes. You don't have to be there. They just have to be in loaded chunks, and you can do this to each of the different spawners in that structure. Maybe use like a minecart to move you around, and then once you do that, you can actually just go through Nether portal, go to the next structure, and repeat the process, or you can even automate the entire process through the Nether. So you can be on a big line that goes in a circle. You can constantly be activating them and getting all these guys to be stored up. Now, the nice thing about the breezes and all the other mobs that comes out of the trial spawners, they all have the persistence required tag, which means they cannot despawn. So even if you're a multiplayer server and other people are in the area loading these hostile mobs, they would normally despawn, but since they're special, they cannot. So you don't have to worry about storing them in like a boat or minecart or name tagging them. And despite having 4 different breeze spawner farms, all the portals link up to a single collection system on the nether side, which makes it a lot easier. See how I made a farm from beacons to mob heads to dragons, all in this playlist here. And consider joining as a YouTube membership, as it lets me know you would like to see the continuation of this series. And you can get some cool perks along the way. Otherwise, you can always leave a like on the video and share with others, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye!